Assalamualaikum. I am Afifah Binti Aznan, card matric number 2020885072. I would like to talk about Axiata company background. Firstly, Axiata is a mobile telecommunication operator that calls itself an Asia-centric multinational. It has controlling interests in cellular companies in Malaysia, Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Cambodia, and as well as strategic stakes in India and Singapore. It has over 240 million subscribers, and the number has grown sixfold since 2007. The group is also one of the region's biggest telecommunication tower players, owning more than 13,000 towers in 4 countries. Axiata was incorporated in 1992 as an international business division in Telecom Malaysia, the state telecommunication company. It was separated from Telecom and subsequently listed in 2008. Khazanah Nasional and other states fund combined hold more than 60% of Axiata's share.
Hi, my name is Farah Shaheera Binti Azli. My matric number is 2020899872. So today I would like to present about management approach. For the first one, 2.1, factor to consider having a segment reporting. An operating segment is a component of an entity. First, the business that engage with the activities from which is earned revenue or incurred expenses. For the example, Axiata Berhad venture in the telecom industry not only in Malaysia but also another country which Sri Lanka and also Cambodia. And the second one is the activities that are regularly reviewed by the chief operating of Axiata Berhad itself for decision maker for the resource allocation and assessing performance. Lastly, the financial information of the business is available for the Axiata Berhad itself. Next, let's see 2.2, which is type of segment. So you have 3 types of segment. The first one is segment have similar long-term financial performance. For example, Axiata Berhad itself have the long-term gross margin, and the second one is segment have similar economic characteristic. For example, Axiata contribute over 28 billion USD to the 6th country and establish their digital telco to the country that they venture to. And the third one is the segment are similar in the following respect. First one is nature of product or services. For example, digital telco, Celcom, and SL Axiata. And the second one is digital business, Boost and also Aspirasi. And the third one is infrastructure, A.Core. And the second one is nature production process. And the first one is the type of class of customer. And the fifth one, method to distribute their product and services. For example, Axiata itself distribute their services through Boost, Easy Cash, and also Smart Loan. And lastly, of regulatory environment, for example, digital technology or public utilities that Axiata uses. Next, that we can see, identify to consider chief of decision making and its responsibility. Chief operating decision maker is a function, not necessarily a person. The function is to allocate resource or assess the performance of the company, and also the operating segment. It varies entity to entity. For example, CEO, the chief or operating officer, the senior of the management, and also it can be also the board of the director. The titles and also the person titles identified as a CODM is not relevant as long as it's the person responsible for making a strategic decision for the company. For example, that we can see here the board of director of the Axiata.
My name is Nuratiqah Syarmi Binti Zulkipli with number matric of 2020885232. We'll be presenting segmental reporting for Axiata Group. The first one is to explain the process of identifying reportable segment and non-reportable segment. Separate operating segment will be reported if the product or services of the entity is significant constitute as an identifiable business in the production of entity. We can take example as for Axiata Berhad. They involve in digital telecommunication operations. Not all reporting segments need to be reported separately. It is only required to be reported if they exceed the quantitative threshold. According to MFRS 8, entities are allowed to aggregate the operating segment if they meet the criteria of the similar segment, which have similar long-term financial performance, have similar economic characteristics, also similar in the nature of products and services, nature of the production process, type of class of the customer, method to distribute their products and services, and also nature of regulatory environments. The 10% threshold test can be calculated by 3, which is the first one is revenue. The reported revenues from the external sales and the inter-segment sales is 10% or more of the 10% combined revenues of all operating segments. The next one is through the profit or loss. It can be calculated by the full amount of the segment's reported profit or loss of the 10% or more in the greater of total reported profit of the operating segments or the total operating losses from all the operating segments. The last one is asset. We can calculate the 10% threshold test by using the segment's asset that are 10% or more of the total segments of all operating segments. There can be a situation where the segment does not meet the criteria of 10% test. However, the segments can still be reported, which can combine with other segments that are below the threshold in the purpose of meeting the 10% test and included as all other segments category. Next, we're going to talk about the 75% threshold test. After determining the reportable segments, the entity should ensure that the total external revenue attributable to those reportable segments at least 75% of the entity's total revenue. If 75% threshold is not met, the additional reportable segments should be identified even if they are not meet the 10% test until at least 75% of the total entity revenue is included in the reportable segments. Okay, next we're gonna see the calculation to identify the reporting segment. As you can see, there are a few segments which consist of Malaysia, Indonesia, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Cambodia, infrastructure, and others. How to calculate the 10% rules? The first thing is we take the total operating segments of each division, over it with the combined operating revenue of all segments. As you can see, Malaysia, Indonesia, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka have exceeded the 10% rule, while others does not meet the 10% threshold test. Okay, next we can see the Axiata Group's Berhad segmental reporting. The ones that meet the 10% criteria will be reported as separate operating segment, while others which does not meet the criteria of 10% threshold test will be grouped as other reportable operating segments. And we can also see that here is the external revenue plus with the inter-segments to be total of operating revenue. This is the reproduced segmental report of Axiata Group Berhad, which you can see Malaysia, Indonesia, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka are being reported separately. And you can see the others, which consists of the operating segments that are not meet the criteria of 10% threshold test.
Advantages and disadvantages for segmental reporting. Firstly, the advantages of segmental reporting are: segment reporting can reveal which areas are profitable and which areas are drained on the bottom line. It keeps managers from hiding unprofitable ventures. Segment reporting also allows stakeholders to get better sense of
fluctuations that might affect overall numbers. Stakeholder can look at the same report to determine if the numbers are sustainable. It is designed to help investors better understand the business and its potential cash flows. Moving to the disadvantages of segmental reporting, it can place too much focus on short-term numbers. Looking up those numbers as a data point via segmental reporting can lead to pressure to reduce those losses to enhance short-term earnings. Segment reporting lends itself to data manipulation if the information is reported in the true management eyes style. This gives companies leaders more discretion in how it determines how segments are constructed and what metrics are reported. It can cherry-pick metrics to send desired message to stakeholders.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Husnina. So today I'm going to explain about interim reporting. So firstly, the basic preparation of interim report. The basic preparation of interim report of Axiata Group Berhad is based on integral method. An interim period is an integral part of the annual period. Thus, the interim report prepared by the Axiata Group Berhad is a fraction of the second quarter ended 30th June 2020 of the annual report. Under this method, the company spread all accruals and expenses across all periods when they incurred this event in some periods and not in others. This quarterly report needs to be read in conjunction with the group's audited financial statement for the financial year ended 31st December 2019. Okay, next we move to accounting policies used in preparing interim report of Axiata Group Berhad. So in 2019, the accounting policies and the method computation applied in the unaudited financial statement are consistent with those used in the preparation of 2019 audited financial statement, except from the following. The impact of adoption is being assessed by the group regarding the useful life of non-removable leasehold improvement under MFRS 116 and the lease term of the underlying asset under MFRS 16. Okay, the second one is the adoption of amendments to existing standards that are applicable to the group's financial year beginning 1st January 2020, which are amendments to the MFRS 3 definition of a business and amendments to MFRS 9, MFRS 139, and MFRS 7 on the interest rate benchmark reform. Okay, next, the accounting policies used in preparing of interim report for Axiata Group Berhad is that in 2019, the group had changed its accounting policies for the subsequent remeasurement of put option non-controlling interest to better reflect the substance of transaction with shareholder. Therefore, the change of policy made in 2019 will be reflected to the current annual financial statement. Subsequent measurement change previously recognized in the SOPL, now it will be recognized directly to the other reserve. Okay, next we're going to discuss about types of interim report. There are 5 types of interim report prepared by the group Axiata Berhad, which I'm going to explain only 3 of it, and it will be continued with my friend Izzah. So the first one is the condensed statement of financial position. As a change of accounting policies, non-controlling interests are reported had increased in the second quarter of 30th June 2020. The second one is a condensed single statement of comprehensive income. The net foreign exchange on financing activities on the second quarter 2020 had a gain compared to the second quarter 2019 that the company had a loss. This is due to the effective strategy used by the company to have a gain. The third one is a condensed statement of changes in equity. In conjunction with the issue, repurchase and repayment debt and equity securities during the financial period to date, Axiata Group Berhad issued a new ordinary share under the performance-based long-term incentive plan. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Izzah Atirah binti Shamsuri, and I wanted to present about the last two of the type of interim report prepared by the Axiata Berhad in continuation with what my friend Husnina is presenting. So the fourth one is a condensed statement of cash flow. There is a reduction in cash flow during the financial period to date as Axiata Berhad acquired additional property, plant and equipment amounting to 2,636.3 million, mainly for its telecommunication network equipment and capital work in progress. And the last but not least statement that was prepared by Axiata Berhad in the interim report is selected explanatory notes. Axiata Group Berhad had amendment to MFRS 3 definition of business. The amendment did not have material impact to the group during the current quarter and financial period to date. The company had also amendment to MFRS 9, MFRS 139 and MFRS 7 on interest rate benchmark reform. The above adoption also did not have material impact to the group during the current quarter and financial period to date. The next thing that I want to present is about period for current and comparative of each statement prepared by the Axiata Berhad. So the first interim statement that was prepared is the interim statement of financial position as at 30th June 2020. According to MFRS 134, interim statement of financial position should include as of the end of the current interim period and a comparative as of the end of the immediately preceding year. So as you can see from the slide, the current period is as at 30th June 2020 while the comparative period is as at 31st December 2020. The second one is the interim statement of comprehensive income for the quarter ended 30th June 2020. Interim statement of comprehensive income should include both of the current interim period and cumulatively for the current financial year to date with a comparable interim period for a current and financial year to date. As you can see from the slide, the current interim period at the second quarter ended 30th June 2020 while the comparable interim period is as at second quarter ended 30th June 2019. And same goes to the financial period year to date ended 30th June 2020 while the comparable financial year to date is 30th June 2019. The third one is the statement of changes in equity for the period ended 30th June 2020. Statement of changes in equity cumulatively for the current financial year to date with a comparative statement for the comparable year to date of immediately preceding financial year. So as you can see from the slide, the current financial year to date ended 30th June 2020 while the comparable financial year to date is ended 30th June 2009. The last one is the interim statement of cash flow for the quarter ended 30th June 2020. Statement of cash flow is reported in the interim report of the company, same as the statement of changes in equity, which cumulatively for the current financial year to date with a comparative statement for the comparable year to date of immediately preceding financial year. So as you can see from the slide, the current financial year to date ended 30th June 2020 while the comparable financial year to date is ended 30th June 2009. Last but not least that I want to present is about my proposal of the adjustment made by Axiata Berhad to be included in the interim report. So the first adjustment is during the second quarter of 30th April 2020, Axiata Berhad acquired a new machinery worth 80,000 on credit that is used mainly in operation of the business. The second adjustment is in the same quarter on 30th June 2020, the company made a settlement amount of 50,000 with the supplier. However, the company forgot to record both transactions that occurred in the financial statement. Those adjustments made by the company, the line items that are related is only asset and a liability. As you can see from the table, The three line items they are stated on the first column is non-current asset, property, plant and equipment, current asset, deposit, cash and bank balance, and the current liability, trade and other payables. So as you can see, the amount of property, plant and equipment is increased after the adjustment from 26,256,254 to 26,338,254. This is because when the company purchase a new machinery, it means the company asset will increase. The amount of cash and bank balance is decreased from 5,906,815 to 5,856,815 as the company made a settlement of 50,000 to a supplier on 30th June 2020. So the last line item is trade and other payables. The amount of trade and other payable is increased from 12,642,009 ringgit to 12,672,009 ringgit, as it is because on the first adjustment, the company purchased a new machinery on credit, which will resulting on increase of the liability. However, on the second adjustment, the company made a settlement to a supplier, which will reducing the company's liability.